The long battle between the Crips and GDs in New York is bloody, violent, and shocking. It's kind of ironic that we started this video referencing the classic New York City gangsters from back in the day, because in the modern day, the G's in the streets of New York are in many ways much more brutal than their old school mafioso counterparts. For example, consider this grisly incident. In 2016, when a man who is said to have been connected to Bobby Shmurda's GS9 gang was found drowned wearing a pair of cement shoes.
The body that washed ashore Monday in Sheepshead Bay has been identified as 28-year-old Peter Martinez. He was reportedly in the G Stone Crips crew, the gang infamously linked to the incarcerated rapper Bobby Shmurda. Martinez was not stabbed or shot, but bound and his feet cemented before being thrown into the city waters.
Now, fun fact, this is actually the only time that this method of execution has been recorded as used in American crime history. For real, like the actual mafia back in the day didn't have the balls to do shit this brutal. Or perhaps maybe they know better than to try and drown someone wearing cement shoes, because it turns out this is actually a really bad way to get rid of a body. In this case, the deceased man actually floated back to the surface despite the cement boots. Because that concrete wasn't given enough time to set, it eventually got oxygen in it, causing the deceased man to float back to the surface. So if there's any real gangsters watching, next time stick to using pigs.
The best thing to do is feed them to pigs.
Now look, that's just one example of how extreme things can get in the streets of New York City. Now look, whilst the individual that was drowned in that incident was connected to the GS9 Crips, that slaying actually isn't anything to do with this story. But it is an example of just how real things can get in the streets of New York when you are connected to the gang life. But if we take a closer look at the feud that went on between the GDs and the Crips in this story, we can see that in the modern day, a lot of the beef between these two groups has been escalated by music, drill music. Nowadays, since his passing, it's very easy to point at Pop Smoke and single him out as the anointed king of Brooklyn drill. And sure, Pop Smoke certainly did the most to bring New York drill music to the center of popular music, but the people in New York who created the Brooklyn drill sound as we know it today is 22Gs and the Blickies. Hell, in 2017, before Pop Smoke had spat a single bar into the microphone, the Blickies were just chilling on their spot, belting out the ad-libs that would later make Pop Smoke famous.
Oh, he said he tired. He said he tired.
Nah, we rocking. Hold on, what you just do? Do it again. What that mean? Let the people know.
Wow. Bow! But aside from being able to simply make the noise grrr, the Blickies were actually the first in New York to pioneer the trend of using UK drill beats in their songs. So originally, Bobby Shmurda and the GS9 Crips were the first rappers from Brooklyn to start speaking and rapping honestly about the gang life they were living, but they were mainly using Meek Mill type beats, nothing super original. It was only when 22Gs, Nas Blicky, and Nico Suave combined rapping greasy New York gang shit over a UK drill beat that the Brooklyn drill sound was truly born for the first time. And this was on the track Blicky, or Go Nowhere Without My Damn Blicky. Now look, this track doesn't sound like one of the more polished UK drill sounding beats that you would hear today from a top drill producer like Ghosty or Chris Rich. No, Blicky sounds a lot more basic, much more akin to an early UK drill song from back in the days of 2015-16, when British drill producers were still trying to find their signature sound. In fact, in 2016, New York's Blicky perfectly mirrored the kind of UK drill beat that you would hear in London in 2015.
Still clip up in the damn blicky. Go nowhere without this damn blicky. Go nowhere without this damn blicky. Go nowhere without this damn blicky.
No face, no case, dipper on me and I got my green done up.
So, Blicky got things started as far as the Brooklyn drill scene is concerned, but the game would truly change when 22Gs released his follow-up track, Suburban, which very quickly became his biggest song to date. The track's all about jumping out of black Suburban, shooting at your ops. It features specific disses to their ops, the 8-tray Crips, with lyrics saying that they're clipping them trays. Now, this song was a huge look for 22Gs, but the Brooklyn drill scene was still very much in its infancy. The war between the Crips and the GDs was still going on in the streets, but this was the first time that it had truly made its way to wax. From here, it would take close to a year for the GD's ops to actually fully get in on the music hustle, but when they did, they would make a big splash. And eventually, in March 2017, Crick rapper Young Costamano and S550 dropped the track Folk in the Trunk, a track all about throwing folk, or GDs, into the trunk of your whip, a track naturally littered with many GDK ad-libs and hand signs, and direct disses to their GD op Envy Kane.
I got a poke in my trunk, they heard I got coke in my trunk. I got a poke in my trunk, they heard I got coke in my trunk.
The music video for Folk in the Trunk also allegedly included numerous locations on the GD op block of Ebbets Field, where these guys filmed themselves rapping and pretending to have actual folk in the trunk. Now, it was this track, Folk in the Trunk, that truly started the GDK movement in Brooklyn, giving the Crips, or just any rapper that had a problem with the GDs in New York, an outlet through drill music to apply pressure to their ops. In fact, as time went on, the GDK movement picked up so much steam, the NYPD eventually joined and they started pulling up on GD turf, playing Folk in the Trunk, just to troll the Blickies.
Oh, you look. Damn for that, bro. They crazy. Yeah, bro. Pook, you hear that? You hear that song?
And so at this point, with all of the attention that Brooklyn drill tracks were beginning to get, it was only natural that more rapping Crips decided to throw their hats into the ring and start dissing GDs on drill songs too. Most notably was of course Chef G, who came through in April 2017 with his first song, 4 Dem Racks. This came along with a music video showing many members of Movin' Gang showcasing just how much they hate GDs by dropping numerous rakes in the video. Yes, there's plenty of upside down pitchfork hand signs symbolizing that everybody in this video is indeed a GD killer, especially this one white dude in the background who's dropping those rakes a little too enthusiastically. Calm down, Simon, you don't want the GDs catching you lacking in Whole Foods now, do you? Anywho, setting aside all of the rakes that these Crips were dropping with their hands, Chef G decided to take it to the next level by literally beating the shit out of an actual rake in the video. Hey, fuck that rake, I heard he was Leaf K. Hey, at least we know Sideshow Bob's GDK now. Anywho, between Young Costamado, Chef G, and the NYPD, the GDK movement was picking up big steam in New York. Naturally, the rise of the GDK movement would eventually make its way back to the GDs themselves, and eventually when Mel's TV caught up with the Blickies for a hood vlog, they themselves acknowledged the rise of GDK in Brooklyn, but suggested that everybody was just riding the wave for clout.
It's GDK. I need to know when this shit started though. Like, G shit, when did this shit started, my nigga? Free my guys, man, who got locked up 2012, my nigga. Nobody was GDK then.
Funnily enough, they also called out Young Costamano, saying that they filmed Folk in the Trunk right at the edge of their hood, and that they wouldn't have the balls to come and film it right here on this spot where they're standing right now.
Do you see where we chill at, bro? Come shoot the music video right here. You gonna go all the way on the other side.
Oh, somebody shot.
Come on, bro. Coming over here, I don't know, at 5, 6 in the morning, I don't know. In the morning.
The nigga that made Folk in the Trunk, I bet you he would have never did it right here. I ain't gonna hold you.
You know where you at, nigga.
Come try to shoot that shit right here.
We would have beat the shit out his ass.
So, the beef between the Blickies and the Crips made its way to music and got popping. The GDK movement was picking up steam, and the GDs weren't too happy about it either. But at this point, unfortunately, just when his team needed him the most, the Blicky general himself and pioneer of the Brooklyn sound, 22Gz, would end up getting locked up for months on serious charges, not even in the state of New York. In a case that seemed so insane, nobody with a brain in their head thought that 22Gz would ever see the outside of a prison cell ever again.